give us your saving help. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus said to his disciples, "Be on your guard, stay awake, because you never know when the time will come. It's like a man traveling abroad. He has gone from home and left his servants in charge, each with his own task. And he has told the doorkeeper to stay awake. So stay awake, because you do not know when the master of the house is coming, evening, midnight, cockcrow, dawn. If he comes unexpectedly, he must not find you asleep. And what I say to you, I say to all, stay awake." The Gospel of the Lord. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could find a way to master time? To get time to do what we want rather than be dictated by time. You know, time is a weird and wonderful thing. Sometimes time just seems to drag, and at other times it's like sand going through your fingers. You know, a few weeks ago I was on holiday at the start of November, and I booked that way back in April sometime. But by October, I knew I really needed this holiday. But October just dragged in. Every minute was like an hour, every hour was like a day, every day was like a week, every week was like a month. It just seemed forever to come to the beginning of November. And the day I left in November, I remember sitting with my friends at Glasgow Airport over a glass of wine saying, "We've got 16 days. The next thing I was aware of, I was sitting in Malaga Airport saying, "Where did the 16 days go?" You know, time is just a weird and wonderful thing. If only we could master it. You know, for a child waiting for Christmas, every day seems like forever. But as we travel through life and we get to the stage in astonishment when we look back in our life and realize that most of our life is in the past. Time is an amazing thing. Science tells us that time is simply a measure of change. If there was no change, we wouldn't be aware of time. It's as things change that we become aware of what time is. And the reality is, nothing stays still. Everything is constantly changing. You know, our nature is constantly changing. The seasons are constantly changing. The weather is constantly changing. We are constantly changing. And we measure that change in terms of time. And time kind of annoys us. It does strange things to us. And yet there's one thing about time that we know for absolute certain. We'll run out of time. Our world is finite. We are finite. We change and we change and we change, and eventually we die. That's the reality of time. There will come a day for all of us when we will run out of time. This is good news. And that's why the church today, at this beginning of the season of Advent, at the beginning of the church's new year, is asking us to focus on this important issue. Because time is important. The church today, through the liturgy of the Word, is inviting us to look at our past, our present, and what lies ahead. And to become aware that what lies ahead, we don't have much control about. You know, we can have all the plans for our lives that we ever want to make, and they can be snuffed out in a breath. But we need to make changes in our life. You know, what do we do when we realize that we have a limited time? What do we do? How do we use that limited time? Well, we do what time does. We move. You know, Advent really is a time for action. It's a time to be doing something. It's a time to be taking stock in our life. To really look at our lives and see, how am I using the time that God has gifted me? And how am I going to use the time that lies before me? What changes do I need to make in my life? And that's the hard bit. Because, brothers and sisters, none of us like change. We don't want to change. When things are going well, we want things to stay as they are. But here's a weird thing. When things are not going well in our life, we also are reluctant to make those changes that we need to make. Because fundamentally, we don't like change. We don't want to change the things that are good in our life, and we really don't want to make the effort for the things that are not good in our life, even though we know that they are destructive. You know, there's a kind of perverse part of us that we know this isn't right, we know this isn't good for us, but you know, we're comfortable here. We know where we stand. And to take the risk of changing our life, well, that's a bit frightening, because we don't know where we'll end up. And sometimes even when we look at our life, you know, we can think, where do I even start? There's so many things in my life that I need to change. Where do I start? And we can feel really helpless. The prophet Isaiah expressed that in today's first reading. And he expressed it like this. He said, Lord, why did you stand and watch us doing crazy things? Why did you not stop us? You know, really what he's saying is, I wish God would have fixed my life. Now, I don't want to make the change, but maybe God could have done that. And then he goes on to say, but rend your heaven open, come down on us and be with us. And that's a powerful message for us, for when we stand before God and we say, how do I even start to change my life, Lord? Isaiah reminds us that God is coming to help. You know, when we are really stuck, God will move heaven and earth to unstick us. We are not on our own here. But we have to be willing to allow him into our lives and be willing to allow those changes in our lives that will result by letting him into our lives. So this time of Advent is a time really to take stock. What is your life like just now? What in your life do you know that you have to change? What do you have to do to improve your relationships with those around you? What do you have to do to renew and improve your relationship with God? You know, what steps do you have to take? What parts of your life are you living in an unhealthy manner? Pray, brothers and sisters, for the grace to see what needs to be changed in your life, and the grace to have the courage to take steps to make those changes. But do it now, because what Advent reminds us is that there will come a day when change is no longer possible.